Okay, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. Comes to us from the UK. His name is Richard Willett. It's Willett, and he is associated with Iconic. He's been working for them for 7 years, and I've been on his show a couple times. We did one back in 2020.
Wow.
That was on his show Glitch in the Code, and then 2024 I talked about the Pilgrim Society. But it came to my attention that he published a new book. I've been following. He does these great posts on Twitter recently, a lot of stuff about Trump and some of the occult magic stuff that's going on around this crazy administration, what's happening in the world. So I've been following him and I've been retweeting. And then I saw he came out with a new book recently within the last couple weeks. And if you're watching this on my 3 YouTube channels, Rockfin, X, or Rumble, you'll see the cover. And the full title of the book is I Am Immortal, A Death Cult's Quest for Immortality. And his full name is Richard Alexander, or Richard A. Willett. And I have a copy of the book. I've read through it. He also has an act. I listened to a podcast within the last week of him as a guest on Charlie Robinson's macroaggressions. And he talked kind of on some stuff that's similar, but like about his series Making Monsters, which is on YouTube, his YouTube channel. So I'll put links to all of his social media sites, YouTube, the book, which is available now on Kindle and soft cover, his Twitter feed, which I highly recommend. But he also knows some stuff. Like I had a guest on, her name was Sarah McCarthy, about Epstein. So he knows a lot about Epstein and the Zorro Ranch, which I've been studying recently. But it was a book, Blue Butterfly, about the girl's name. I can't remember it right now. But there's a lot of overlaps between his research and mine. I know I've been doing a lot of Epstein stuff recently. I did one last night. I did 3 shows on Epstein on Saturday, so a couple days ago. But check everything out. Again, we're going to kind of cover a lot of stuff. We're going to cover this book. Very important. And the title Death Cult kind of rings a bell with me because I wrote a book called Global Death Cult, published in 2021. So these people are into immortality for themselves and death for the rest of us, or so it seems. But Richard can talk more about that. So Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. It's been lovely to chat with you over the years and be kind of around you guys that paved the way before I even came along. So I appreciate you having me on and giving me the platform to speak about my first book, which is something I've wanted to do for a long time. So I appreciate the time and bringing your audience over to my work.
Yeah, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. People check it out. Like I said, it's available now. So it was out in the last 2 weeks, but a lot of familiar things are in here. A lot of words. I mean, a lot of themes that I've covered. But maybe for people who aren't familiar with your work at Iconic, you are mainly making videos and things like that behind the scenes, is my understanding. But maybe you could talk about your career, how you got involved with Iconic, and then what led you up to the research and publication of this book, I Am Immortal.
Spoke to you before Iconic was born. So we did a Glitch in the Code, which was way back. So I was doing this work for a long time. I have a BA honours in film and TV production, so I come from that kind of a background. So I was going into the mainstream media, but I knew at my mid-20s that wasn't really where I wanted to be. In terms of the news, I was at the BBC, local BBC, and saw it for what it was at that time, being a little bit older than everyone else. So I knew the alternative media was for me. And I mean, that's 15 years ago, so maybe even longer now. So I started my own podcast, Glitch in the Code, and this is again a little bit different for that while back. There wasn't as many at that time, and so I always looked into this stuff most of my adult life, but this started a long way back with me. Then I obviously went into the background a little bit and did more of the video production, the directing, still hosting here and there. But as the years have gone on, I've come back out into hosting the shows a little bit more than just directing and editing, knowing what I know. Over the years was like, I want to speak about these things. So I was one of the founding members of Iconic. I started Iconic with Jamie, Gareth and David Icke and a lady called Gina. We all started it together 7 years ago and it's still rolling since there. So although I don't technically work for Iconic, I'm self-employed. I am one of the founding members and on the board of Iconic. So we built that together as a kind of alternative Netflix really at the time. and it's just grown. So I've been doing a lot. What most of my time has been taken up with that. So to be able to get a book out has been a culmination of the shows that I do on there a week. So I actually do 4 shows on there a week, which is I do 2 documentary shows, Focus, Classified. I do a show called What Af, which is more of a comedic look at the conspiracy world and what went on, which we started, me and Gareth Light, during the Rona scam. And I do one called Psychobabble, which is where I'm moving now a little bit more into the psychology and criminology world. So this is how I want my future work is going to be more trying to connect the world of true crime with the conspiracy world. Because when you get like, say, Charles Manson, as you would know, situation, they get this. Some writers will say it was an accident, like a robbery gone wrong, which I don't agree with. They'll, even those who look into the darker aspects, won't bring over the occult information. They don't understand the background of this, the transhumanist element of this, the Rosemary's Baby element of this, the whole kind of connotations to that. So that's what I write about that in the book, and how that connects to Epstein, how that connects to L. Ron Hubbard, how that connects to Jack Parsons, and all of this stuff does connect in terms of a messianic death cult that now has the transhumanist technology to bring this, or at least they believe, an attempt to bring this stuff about. I don't believe they can do all this stuff, but I think we're quite clearly seeing a mad US government, Israeli government, UK government, and that now is showing it is. And they certainly believe, at the very higher echelons of this, that they can do these things. And so this is all to do with the playing out of biblical end times, the transhumanist technology, the building of the third temple, a lot, the Freemasonic element of it, the Rosemary's Baby, transhumanist, homunculus element of bringing the Antichrist. This is all in the book. And what it kind of concentrates on is that this death cult, the real main theme of it, or one of the larger themes of it, is that this death cult are terrified of death. They worship Saturn, Kronos, death, Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, whatever you want to call this archetype of this evil creator god. They worship this because they're terrified of it. They don't love this god. They're scared of this god. And they're scared of the archetype of having to face up to what they've done. So they want to live here forever, but they want death for us. So it's kind of an oxymoron. They are a death cult that wants to live forever. And that's the Philosopher's Stone. All of these things I look into in the chapters in the book, and it's kind of an encompassment of what these lunatics believe. And I make it evident in the book that I don't believe these things, or that they're even capable of doing these things, but they certainly do. And that's why we have 70,000 people genocided in Gaza. That's why we have 20,000 kids. That's why they won't blink when they kill 165 children in Iran 3 weeks ago and then go and build a ballroom, because they are a death cult. So I go into what they believe, what they're doing about it, how they go about it, and all the other elements of the transhumanist technological rollout of this playing out of end times ideology. It's a 400-page book. It's a very in-depth book, but it shows how mad they are from top to bottom, and they really are. It breaks it all down.
There is a connection in the Epstein materials between these occultists leading up to Epstein. We know Epstein was involved in getting books from 2 guys, Hyatt and Krieg, who are right in this line out of Parsons, Crowley, Parsons, and Hubbard. Like literally that, and he's onto Tantra and occultism. He knows about secret societies, and he's moving around. Like the person who that book I was about was Juliet Bryant, who you mentioned in the
she's a good friend of mine. Yep.
Maybe that's a good place to start, is like the lead up to Zorro Ranch, because people don't believe that part of Epstein where there's like experimental things. And I mean, when I talked to McCarthy, Brian thought that she was being she's from South Africa, so it's part of this global element. But maybe you could expand on her story in Zorro Ranch.
Yeah. So me and Juliet Bryant have been friends for about 3 years now. Been talking excessively about this stuff, consistently, even and excessively about this stuff, and we've been talking about the symbology behind it. What happened to start off with? About 2.5 years ago, she came on my classified show, which is on iconic.com, and the first time she ever discussed seeing a couple of things that, I mean, take it as you will, you get to believe in what you like, but she certainly believes that these things happen to her. The first of which was that she woke up paralyzed and naked on a laboratory table, surrounded by a certain amount of medical staff. One lady, the rest were male. Under, she believes, she definitely was at Zorro Ranch. She was being kept at Zorro Ranch at the time, so she doesn't know where she woke up. So we investigated that. It was, to me, under Zorro Ranch. You've got in New Mexico, you've got Dulce Base, you've got Los Alamos National Laboratory, you've got the Trementina site, which is incredibly important because that links into Scientology. It's the Church of Spiritual Technology. It has like a blue facade, Shekinah, which is the blue color in Kabbalah protection, facade front in the hill. You can clearly see it's a fake front. And that's where Ron Hubbard allegedly keeps all of his information in his books. Of course, it's cryogenically frozen. So you've got cryogenics there, you've got the Trementina site there, you've got Dulce Base, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and Zorro Ranch right in the middle there. You've got the Roswell crash as well, obviously, and other things as well there. So where did she wake up? That was the first point. I believe it was underneath Zorro Ranch. Now we're going into all of this stuff. She believes her eggs were being harvested. I don't think that's too much of a stretch from what we know about Epstein now. So she believes her eggs were being harvested for experimentations and transhumanist experimentations, and I believe it connects into the homunculus, the calipotic shell of the Kabbalah, which is the same thing, and Rosemary's Baby, or the Moonchild, as Crowley called it originally, which is, they're kind of the same story, really. When you read them both, they're definitely connected. So I think when you look at it, they're creating some sort of vessel, technologically and biological, like wetware, using the sperm of males collected in such places as St. Bart's, which is the Caribbean islands near St. Thomas, which is near Jeffrey Epstein's island. And we know that people from Abercrombie and Fitch, one of the managers there, was caught for trafficking male prostitutes. Well, no, sorry, male, not prostitutes, male models there, and doing something similar by the looks of it. So there's all of this goes into it. And even the FBI, I mean, this got front page about a month ago after I've been speaking about it 2.5 years ago. I'm not saying it's because of me. I think it's just the pressure was on from a lot of people starting to look into this. But they went and investigated, the FBI, Zorro Ranch. Now, we've heard nothing about this investigation in the last month. Nothing about what they turned up or didn't turn up. I mean, it could be there's nothing to this, but this has gone completely quiet. The two people that ran the ranch, a couple, an elderly couple, forget their name now, but they haven't been seen since 2019. They ran it, and they had a background in using rifles and guns. Someone got accosted on the hills, a walk around the ranch by someone with a gun. It looks like to be this guy, and I forget his name, it'll come back to me later, who ran the ranch. So there's something going on there underground in New Mexico. There's something going on, in my opinion, underground in on the island. So when Juliet Bryant was at Zorro Ranch, this gets even weirder, was at Zorro Ranch, and she was kept there. She thought she was only there for a few days, but it turns out that she was there for weeks. This is back in the early 2000s. Not only did she wake up underneath the underground, she was actually there with the film director, she claims, Michael Bay. Now, we know Michael Bay is connected to Epstein through, who's the guy that Epstein kind of served? Les Wexner. Now, Les Wexner, his company, again, that escapes me at the moment, was Les Wexner's famous modeling agency, or
Victoria's Secret?
Victoria's Secret, that's it.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret. Now, their original or very early promotional videos were shot and directed by Michael Bay. So Michael Bay is connected to Les Wexner. He was hired by Les Wexner earlier on. So she said she saw Michael Bay at Zorro Ranch when she was there. Now, he's denied ever being there. We know there's connection through Les Wexner. Now, she says that she saw him there. He's denied it. Now, in 2003, what film does Michael Bay release? He releases The Island, which is exactly what she was telling me she believes is going on underneath Jeffrey Epstein's island. You've also got St. Bart's Island near there. A lot of these P. Diddy, Richard Branson types go there. Abramovich as well. All of these guys, Putin and Abramovich, they holiday there. A lot of people do. There's
it's a known elite spot, Richard. That St. Bart's, they meet. They bring all their yachts together like a regatta and party.
Oh, they do.
And it's known, yeah. It's a known thing per year, yeah.
Hollywood, all of this connects. All of this absolutely connects. And you're right. I've just seen that jug of the go. Yeah, a Christian group bought Zorro Ranch. I would question whether they're truly Christian or not, but they certainly say that they are. Um, so go back to St. Bart's. You've got on that island, you've got a yellow submarine, by the way, that takes all people for a little trip. So you've got that Crowley Beatles-esque connection there. But one of the major things about that island is that there are people that have gone to parties there and said that some weird propositions have gone on. Puff Daddy was there a lot as well. Obviously, this Abramovich guy. Oh, sorry, this Abramovich Fitch. Can never say that.
Abercrombie, I
Fitch
think
guy.
it is. Yeah, that guy got
Fitch,
busted for
yeah.
trafficking dudes. He was a homosexual, and that was his.
He did. So I think he was harvesting some of the sperm from the males, and the women were being.
Richard, you're coming in and out. Maybe what we could
big things that people have missed is.
Hey, Richard, you're coming in and out. Maybe we could turn off the video. All you got to do is click on the camera thing, and that'll help with the connection. Just the camera icon on the back. It's second from the left. Let's just go straight audio.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay.
Perfect.
So,
please continue.
So let's go. Yeah. So when it comes to St. Bart's, so it's a big link. I just want to do this before, and I will move on. Elon Musk had his 13th child on St. Bart's. It was conceived on Bart's with a lady called Ashley St. Clair. St. Clair is a Illuminati bloodline, as you all know, William. They had this child there, and they named the child Romulus. Now, Romulus and Remus were the two direwolves raised by a she-wolf. And one of them went on to found Rome. So there's all this symbology there. When there's a picture of this young lady, Ashley St. Clair, I'm not saying she knew about this, but she's wearing a dress with a black dress with the famous picture with a silver moon on her hip, obviously. So then there's this she-wolf connection there. So there's all of this symbolic transhumanist connection around Epstein, and that goes into the occult stuff to do with Aleister Crowley, L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, and doing the Babylon working ritual in New Mexico. This is the same cult, and this is towards the messianic agenda. So this is the other side this is the technological side of the messianic agenda to bring about this Antichrist being for the likes of Olam Habar, the Kabbalah, element of these Chabad Lubavitch guys that have a lot of sway over Putin, Netanyahu and Trump and Jared Kushner and all of these guys. So you can see these two worlds colliding there. And I go into all of this in the book and what they believe and what they're up to.
It's incredible because all these technocratic people like Musk and Thiel and things are all over the Epstein files and the emails and stuff. And there they are all around Trump, like they helped get Trump elected. And then here they are doing all this. They have all the symbolism, just like you said, the moon child and the moons, and they know what they're doing. Like it's their, like, I forgot which occultist said, but like knowing the symbols is the way the language works, the symbols that they know each other, stuff like that. But it's just off the charts. Were you familiar with the allegation from Zorro Ranch that they had an incinerator on there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I haven't looked into that much, but I mean, would it surprise you that they did? No, nothing would surprise me what they did. What surprised me is that the FBI have raided it and heard nothing. Now that says more than been coming out going, we've found nothing. They literally said nothing so far. So either they're continuing it or the people that went there to do it have been shut up because there's something going on under New Mexico.
Yeah, for people who don't know,
would bet my house on it.
No, I think you're right. For people who don't know, this like huge mansion is in the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded by ownership of land. So even the situation of that mansion is so strange because it's not close to anything else. It just sits alone in its own property. And there's clearly there's an underground pool. Like there is underground elements there. And there's weird things when you're talking about those eggs that Juliet Bryant is talking about. They're talking codes, and I don't know if you've seen this document, but on that file, I think they're talking in codes here. But on that last sentence in this document from the Epstein files from 2011, this is Sarah Kellen, who we know worked for Epstein. It's the only thing we're keeping is the chickens for the eggs and the horses which someone can ride.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so they're talking about eggs, and I believe that these are code words. I don't think.
That's the male. That's I've not seen that one. That's fascinating. The horses that could ride would be the stallion, the male, the most fertile male, and that would be obviously the most fertile female for the eggs. I mean, that's quite clear as day, isn't it? That's barely coded, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a code. And J.E. much cares what happens to them. He said they just killed them. And they're showing it, quote, show animals. They're either show animals or are they? Why show animals in quotes?
Mm,
This is
yeah,
just a huge tell to me. Like, so it verifies and corroborates the story of Julia Bryan, in my opinion. Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just one element of it, and that's the biggest element that she's come out with. But her own story, I mean, she said it everywhere, and even the mainstream is starting to take her seriously, and she's been doing this. Her story has never changed in the nearly 3 years I've spoken to her. She also said, and then you take this with a pinch of salt, this was fear induced or drug induced, although she said she wasn't drugged. She saw Jeffrey Epstein shift into something, not a lizard, but an alien type thing at the moment of climax when he was abusing her. Now, take for that what you will, but this is what she's saying. It's not the first time we've heard these things. Could this be an induced incident of trauma? Absolutely, it could be. But she's not saying she doesn't know, but she's just telling you what happened. So that's another element of this stuff. If these people they're doing weird things down there, under New Mexico, and it's the Babylon working ritual of Crowley. This is exactly what it is. This is Rosemary's Baby. This links into the British Royals. That's why you have Andrew there, because when Diana came out with Harry, she was wearing a very similar dress to the Rosemary's Baby dress.
Yes, she
but
was.
But when Kate Middleton came out with her third child, and I think it was George, but I'm not sure, or one of the children, she was wearing the exact replica of Rosemary's Baby dress. That's not an accident. You don't accidentally do anything in the Royals. Look at their the way they organise every little element of everything to do with their weddings and their ceremonies. Everything is a ceremony. All their life's a ceremony, and we know that. People that listen to your stuff obviously absolutely know that. So she's wearing the Rosemary's Baby dress twice there. And that's not to get that they are doing this antichrist stuff, and I've got enough evidence to convince me anyway. And that has this transhumanist element. Then you have the Charles Manson side of it. There you go, right up there on the screen. Then you have the Charles Manson side of it. Well, Charles Manson comes in. What people don't know that actually he was connected to the Solar Lodge, which was an offshoot of one of these Crowley lodges, and he would have known of the Rosemary's Baby stuff. I'm kind of convinced. I write this in the book. Again, these are theories, but there's enough evidence for you to go and have a look at yourself. He was connected to the Solar Lodge, which was an offshoot of one of these Crowley kind of lodges, and then I believe he thought that Polanski's wife was carrying Rosemary's Baby for real. Obviously, Polanski directed the film Rosemary's Baby in the Manhattan. I believe that he was convinced that when he wrote Pig on the Wall that they were getting rid of the Antichrist child. I completely believe that.
That's kind of I don't know if you know this, Richard, but that's the subtext of Rosemary's Baby is the baby is born at the birth of the Satanic Age, right? That was the whole thing, is like they're bringing the Satanic Age, was supposedly 1968. So that stuff was around before that. And that Solar Lodge is all verified. There's a woman there. It was in LA. It's by USC. There's stories about him, Manson, being associated with them in the process. Whole stories by Ed Sanders that he was associated with the Process Church. The Process Church sued Ed Sanders to get the Process Church out of his book. About the connection. Yeah. So these are called links are there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's quite clearly. So all the other stuff that people are talking about, you're like, you're missing out all of this occult stuff. That's why my kind of job at the moment, or what I want to do at the moment, is trying to connect true crime to this occult stuff. Because without it, you're not going to understand the Son of Sam murders and all of this stuff, because you're dismissing a hell of a lot of information. And it doesn't matter if we believe that they can do it or not, which I certainly don't believe they can. I've never seen any evidence of it. They do. They absolutely do. So that's enough. And that's why 70,000 people were killed in Gaza, because that Antichrist is the child that they're getting ready to be the Messiah who walks over the hill, at the end there when they play out this end time stuff. It all links. That's why you have Chabad Lubavitch, this messianic sect of Lurianic Kabbalists, which I believe at the very top are Sabbatean Frankists, that are hanging around and telling Donald Trump what to do, just having an influence over him, and Netanyahu pledged allegiance to their end times narrative, and Putin's got a Chabad rabbi as well. Kushner's deeply involved with them. You've got Malay there with them. You've got RFK Jr. with Shmuley. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
This is all
They're
part
all
of
over
the
the
end
administration.
times cult. Yeah.
It's the Epstein network is there. That's what we found out from the releases January 30th, is they're all in there, Kushner, and they're doing dark ritualistic type stuff with these kids. It's not just what this girl, Juliet Bryant. There are other civil cases where people, I mean, even Virginia Giuffre woke up and said there was a pool of blood. She doesn't know what happened. You know, like she came out of her privates, and there's other people who their babies are being incubated, they're missing, and then so it's like there's two cases of this, like with these young girls, teens are like, where are my children? It's incredible what's going on behind the scenes,
and it's true, and I think that's why they're in panic now, because you know, for the FBI to look into it, to get in the Daily Mail, they're really trying to keep a lid on this stuff. And you know what, even if 10% of what I've written in the book is true, that's enough. And the fact is that we know that they're bringing about end times prophecies. We know that Donald Trump's involved with that. We know that Pete Hegseth is talking about bringing about, it's possible. I've just put a video out today, yesterday, sorry, one of these Making Monsters about Hegseth and how he became the monster that I believe he actually is. He talks about it's likely or possible that they can bring about the third temple. These people are talking about these things openly now, so they're racing towards the end of this stuff. So the whole book is about exposing this madness without saying this is not prophecy. These are human beings who are part of a cult, who have been brainwashed most of their lives to believe that they are doing something in the world. Some of them will believe they're bringing about end times prophecies for a positive reason. That's why they use the rainbow and the Kabbalah and the 7 Noahide laws. All of this stuff I write about in the book, the golden age of Saturn, all of it is connected because it is one big cult that are following a story. And then I bring it down to, in my latter work, I talk about psychology of this shared illusions of grandeur, to a very psychological understanding that these people are mentally unwell and they should not be in the positions they are in. The real beast system for me is that we've allowed people, that someone like a Pete Hegseth, who's clearly got complex PTSD, talks about end times temples. You've got Trump there thinking he's Messiah. We've allowed these people that would usually be sectioned even 20 years ago into these positions. Now that's an insanely sick culture. There has to be some people, we have to talk about how sick these people are, but all we get is this nonsense about, like 2 days ago with the another alleged assassination fake.
Right.
I mean, the guy standing next to him is Oz Perlman, who's an Israeli mentalist. And I don't mean he's off his head, but he probably is as well. He's a mentalist. He's a hypnosis. He's a trickster. He's doing a card trick at that very point, which is also probably symbolic as well. And Oz, you've got that connection of Wizard of Oz. Oz, in Oz is Zion, obviously.
77 in Crowley's system. Oz relates to 77 too.
Exactly. So it's all there, and I'm not saying that Oz Perlman even knows this. He could just be used as a pawn in that. Even Trump at that point might not even known that incident was going to happen. They don't have to know. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. I think when he was doing whole WWE, I've got my ear blown off stuff, fully well known. I'm not 100% convinced he even knew the one a couple of days ago. It doesn't matter because they're so far down the chain that what that whole situation does, it's a magic trick. It's discombobulates you. It what's the word I'm looking for? It there's a word that kind of like it causes chaos in the mind, and the whole point is that you have
schismogenesis maybe
there at that moment.
You ever heard the word schismogenesis?
I can kind of piece that together, but if you, I'm not actually. What does
schizo?
That mean?
It's like a mix of schizo and genesis, so create schizophrenia.
Ah, I'll have to look into that one. It's it creates that moment of shutdown, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn moment where the information going in is not being judged. That's the whole point. That's what they do. That's how they trick you. Now they've got a magician there, a mentalist at that moment, who's from Israel, by the way. So basically, he's Uri Geller 2.0.
Right. Who was just all over UFO and stuff like that. And
exactly.
fake
Because Uri Geller
spoon
openly
bending.
tells you he's CIA, he's Mossad. So this guy is possibly Mossad, or if not, he's in line for it. It's there for everybody to see, but people don't want to see, and that's why I put the book needs to go out now. Really, I'm not saying it's going to change the world. I'm not that ridiculous. I'm saying that this is part of us understanding and getting these conversations that we can talk about these stuff without sounding like weird conspiracy theorists, because actually we're not saying we believe them, but look at the evidence that these people do. That's the point.
Right. There's tons of evidence for this stuff. The other two assassination attempts have involved guys with strange connections to the FBI, and another guy who was close to like hypnotism involved with Chapman. He literally lived like 5 miles away from the quote hospital unquote where Chapman lived in Hawaii, and then all of a sudden gets shipped out to kill or whatever, somehow ends up in Florida, supposedly taking a shot at Trump on the golf course. So these are all very important, and they some people have said that whole thing that happened in Butler was fake. I mean, I don't see the truth of that, but I don't know.
Could be. Yeah. We don't know anymore. We live in La La Land, and I'm not saying everybody involved with it would even know. It comes from a point where in the hidden, where I believe we're talking about. I do talk about this in the book, in the Triple Crown chapter, the Triple Crown Corporation, I call it, which is the Vatican, Washington DC, and City of London. I think there's black nobility bloodlines, Venetian bloodlines that do know that what's going on to a certain degree. And some of them might even believe they're working for demonic entities. They could well believe that. I'm not saying they are, but who knows what they believe. Does it really matter at the end of the day? Because the outcome's the same. They understand alchemy. They understand cause and effect. They understand the human condition and the nature of reality in terms of the psychology, cause and effect of what thing they understand. If I pick up that cup, I'm doing it. If I put it to my mouth, I'm doing it. The cause and effect that they can have on people. They can wrap it in all this magical narrative, which what that does, it gives them a sense of power and a sense of omnipotence even. So the people looking and going, oh my God, they're so, but they're not. They're doing what they're selling you something. That's what the trick is. It's the selling you the narrative about what they're doing, and actually it's quite logical. They understand cause and effect. They understand alchemy. They understand cybernetics, which is the study of whole systems complete. So they understand how to get you within their system and use you as a cog in the wheel. This is alchemy, and it is magic, but it's not the Hollywood magic. And that's where I think we can really tap into going, everybody can do this stuff. This is a trick. But once you figure it out, it's just a trick. You can do it to them as well.
Right. It's just like a magician's trick. They're playing it off on the public all the time. It's really incredible. Ziz asks, curious opinion on Kirby Sommers. Is her information reliable? Do you know anything about that? Do you know her?
I don't know that name. No, that's a new name to me.
Check into Hegseth's deputy director, his Cerberus Capital Inc. They hide in plain sight. Yeah, the guy behind Hegseth is a Zionist, like Stone Cold, Feinberg or something like that. That's Bartow. Have you ever looked into Cerberus Capital?
I haven't. Again, that's one I need to look into. Thank you for that, because I will look into that. I've obviously looked into Hegseth's past in terms of his because the way I do the Making Monsters is more about the psychological makeup of these, and what I'm trying to do with that is take away some of the conspiracy only to the sense that people can look at them and go, yeah, okay, I can see these people are mad, nuts, how they became insane, and we shouldn't have them in power. So it's more of a reach outside the conspiratorial world to bring people in a little bit and bring the worlds closer. So that is something I'll definitely have a look into. Absolutely. He's obviously, I mean, he's got a drink problem. Not judging the guy at all on that. He has
a sexual abuse problem, Richard. He's like, there's a lot of claims, and he's paid
people
about off
that.
his understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he what do you call it? He not offered. What's the volunteered to go to Iraq? I mean, who volunteers to go to Iraq? He believed in all that 9/11 stuff and what it was, and he's playing that out. And I think he's got to the point now he's so destroyed, he's become a sociopath, which the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath is psychopath is usually genetically born that way to a certain degree, whereas sociopath becomes very similar, but they become that over a certain amount of time. So you have some complex PTSD there. So he's become a point where he's of no return. That he can't look at his behavior and go, "Oh my God, what did I do over there? Who did I kill? Who did I hurt?" He has to make excuses for it, and the perfect excuse is it was God's work. It's all part of this messianic agenda, and I'm playing an important role. That's how they get them in. You said, can I purchase your book directly? You can't at the moment. It is just Amazon. I completely understand that, but I'm self-published. So there will be a point where I get up on the website and I'll be able to send you.
Have you seen Hexus? Have you seen Hexus tattoo? Have you seen Hexus?
But thank you.
Have you seen Hexus tattoos? Like he has the Jerusalem cross on his like right breast. You seen that, Richard?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So his tattoo.
Yeah, that gets taken as a I have like a white supremacist sort of element to it, isn't there? But he denies that. But again, it has this more to me. It's this messianic element of it. This end times playing out prophecies. They all want to be seen as special and they're in the narrative, and this is part of a cult. I think they sell you a story, and you are special, and you're part of this story, and you are in with us, and the outside world gets shunned. And these people living in this White House, they're in a bubble of a cult. They're in a cult. And that's what it's about. But that's just a subsect of the cult of playing out this messianic agenda. They believe that they're playing out end times to bring about Olam Haba. And the real sad thing to me, William, is those who are Christian or don't understand, like genuinely Christian, they're getting set up. And I write about this in the book in terms of a 3D game. So like a virtual reality game even. So what I say in this chapter is that you've got these three Abrahamic religions. You've got the same story almost between the three. It's crossovers. So they all put on this. You put on your Islamic headset. You put on your Christianity headset. You put on your Jewish headset. You all enter the same game. But what you don't realize is that all the players in the game they all the same. The main players that when you get to this final end battle will all look very much the same. But the narrative that's been fed into each headset is completely different. So the context of what you will see and how you will frame that individual that turns up on the Mount Moriah, on the Mount of Olives, will be different. So the Jewish people will see the Messiah, who's a physical person. The Christians will see that Messiah as the fake Antichrist Messiah. The Muslims will just see that as a bloke turning up, and not as any Messiah because the Messiah's already come. The Christians will be waiting to look up to the sky to wait for Jesus to come down from the clouds. Like it's all been set up. There's even a point where one of the Islamic guys that turns up, who's like a priest, he's actually clearly the same guy as one of the four horsemen with a crown on its head and a skeleton. It's clearly been I'm not saying it was set up originally that way, but it's been played to the point where you can see an end event, like in a computer game, where everybody turns up with their headsets on, but they're all getting fed different narratives to the same game. So it's like me and you and another person watching a movie, and we're all getting fed different audio into our heads. We're seeing the same things. We're seeing it, but we're seeing it different. This is the psychological ops of it. And then you realize that Francis Bacon was who edited the King James Bible. King James was an absolute tyrant, killing people. He said everybody was a witch because he nearly drowned in his boat. He was obviously the illegitimate son of Queen Elizabeth I. He was the founding member. The founding included, I think it's Jack D or John D, and another guy, Francis something.
Kelly?
Williamson.
Dean Kelly?
It is Dean Kelly. Sorry, you're right. Dean Kelly. Yeah, it is right. Yeah. So there's three of them there. They started basically what is British intelligence today. It's Elizabethan intelligence. And they're editing.
Is it Walsingham? Is the guy's name Walsingham?
Yeah, something like that. So they edited the King James Bible. These are in British intelligence. What are they doing editing the Bible? So you got see, this whole thing evolves around each other, and it's very. If you take away the magical element of it, the Hollywood element of end times prophecies, actually quite logistical. How they've created this cult over, I would say, thousands of years, but at least since the late 1700s, that's how this modern day version of this cult has come together.
Right, and it's all elite and stuff. And at the end of the book, you mentioned a group that not a lot of people know about, the Collins Elite. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the Collins Elite. So this is guys that basically I was writing all this stuff, putting this stuff together on my own, and I hadn't heard of the Collins Elite till very towards like recently, really towards the end of the writing the book. Collins Elite are guys that are in. They call themselves Christians, but I would say that the very top, the Sabbatean Frankists, in they're gathering around the White House, Washington D.C. area, and they believe everything pretty much that I've said in the book is coming about. But they believe that the UFOs that you are seeing in the sky, or allegedly seeing in the sky, and I think this is where we're seeing Uri Geller and some of these other guys that are to do with the UFO stuff, and there's people dying now, which is horrific. They say that these UFOs are actually demonic entities, not UFOs, technological UFOs. They're demonic entities coming in from a different, not reality, a different, what do you call it, like through a portal. In a
Dimension?
Dimension, that's the word I'm looking for. So they're coming from a different dimension, and this all plays into this end times Revelations 9/11. It's the guy Abaddon from the bottomless pit, that situation. So you can see it there coming together. So that plays an element of it. I'm not saying I'm sure a lot of them believe that that's exactly what they're seeing, but you can see, you step back and you have like, okay, I don't believe in any of this is actually, organic. I believe all of this is created subconsciously through narratives, through a long period of time, through the accumulation of power and wealth. You can see how a global cult can span out over hundreds of years, because all they've done is accumulated wealth and wanted to accumulate more, wanted to keep it, and they've created these narratives and stories around biblical texts. And some of them will realize that they're doing it to control people. Some of them will genuinely believe that these are the real things happening. Doesn't really matter, because the end result is what they will claim is the end times, when actually it's people doing this stuff because it's the power of suggestion.
Right, and the Sabbatean Frankists, isn't that the concept where they sin to bring about the conditions for the Messiah? So it's not like the Messiah is coming because of our virtue. It's that we're trying to create the most wicked thing so that our Messiah shows up. Isn't it something like that? Is that right?
Yeah, it's the redemption through sin. That's exactly what it is. Redemption through sin. This is do what thou wilt. This is Crowley. Same thing. There's just different ways of terming do evil things, excuse yourself of evil things, because in the long run, it's for the greater good. And where do we hear the greater good? During the COVID scam. It was always about do it for the greater good. That is a cult. That is an absolute cult. That is get rid of your individual needs, stop being selfish, self-centered, which they confuse with keeping yourself safe, and do what is best for the community. Well, it's never best for the community. It's best for those who are keeping the community in control, obviously. So this is all about inversion. It's satanic inversion. It's evil becomes good. Good becomes evil. This is the Freemasonic floorboards. This is the flipping of the Kabbalah tree of life, roots up. It's the evident in Stranger Things. This is the upside down, which is just the Kabbalah. They go through a tree to get into the upside down most of the time. All the this is the same stuff. So you have, like, Francis Bacon was into the Kabbalah with a small c, the Christian Kabbalah. You've got the Lurianic Kabbalah, which is Chabad Lubavitch, which comes from Isaac Luria, who was a Sabbatean Frankist. You've got even connections to Epstein and the Sabbatean Frankists. So all of this is in, as I say in the book, I try and tie it all together, because it's a study of a global death cult who don't want to die because they're scared of the God, because most of them believe that this God, the Old Testament God, is their real father figure, and if they don't get it done on time, he'll come for them. So you have the Christians being scapegoated. Now, when you look at the timing now, you're looking at about 200 years before they believe it's the end of the sixth day. Now, if you're reversing this in terms of inversions, that the satanic cult is, which is just inversion. So if you've got the 6 days of creation, and humans were created on the sixth day, and on the seventh day, God had a rest because he was knackered. If you're going backwards the other way, well, when will humans need to be deleted? Well, on the sixth day. Well, they believe they're in the year 5,785. That's exactly what, or 5,786 now. So that don't leave them long to get this plan in place. Because if they don't get it done by the end of the sixth day, they believe that they want that 1,000 years with Christ there, that they'll be punished. So they're using us as the scapegoat for their sins. They're doing everything that they can to bring this about under the guise of creating a new world somewhere over the rainbow, the 7 Noahide laws, all of this stuff. And it's called Olam Haba, they call it. But the Christians will call it the Golden Age. And, you know, but it's the same thing. It's the same play. And it has a time span of 6,000 years, which is the 6 days of creation, the 7-day off, and the 8th day is the new world. It's Olam Haba. It's this new week. This is the way that works, and you know this stuff. So 7 and 11. 11's the wickedest number.
Right.
You got 9/11 president. So you got the 54th president, 9, which is Trump, and the 57th, which were 57th, 54th and 57th president. These are 9/11 presidents. You've got the 954, and you've got the 57th, which is the 9/11 president. Abaddon from the bottomless pit. There's Twin Towers coming down. Yakin and Boaz. All of this stuff goes into all of this narrative. They're playing this stuff out, and they believe that if they time it and they get all of this symbology in the way, it gives them some sort of power to make these things happen. And in a way, it does, because it convinces enough people to go along with it. But what people don't realize is that it's your energy that's being used. There's no magic going on here. This is just mind stuff and manipulation. So the outcome's the same, and it is magic in that sense, but magic has been given this Hollywood feel when actually it's practical magic.
Right. Did you ever listen to Trump say 93 3 times before he was supposedly shot at Butler?
No, I didn't. What's that about?
I'll send you that video. It's incredible. Like, if you really watch, he's like 93, 93, 93, which is the shorthand for Love Under Law, Love Under Will by Crowley. It's off the charts. You cannot believe it. But great talk, Richard. Great to have you. It's been too long since we talked. We're at the 50-minute mark. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything I missed? Where can people find you? Where can people find the book?
You can go on Amazon and get the book. Yeah, I do purchase on Amazon. But I'm self-published, so you can get the Kindle, the ebook there and the paperback there. And obviously, I'll be doing more books of this in the future. You can head over Patreon. I know you got the link there for my Patreon and support me there. And there'll be paid section there soon with some exclusive content going behind the wall, but it's all free at the moment. And YouTube, Richard Willett Conspiracy, or you can find me on Substack, which is what is that? It's Some May Conspire. Just put Richard Willett in Substack. You can find me on X, WhatAfRich. But most of my content, or a lot of my content during the week, goes on iconic.com. So I have 4 shows go on there a week. So I'm really making a lot of content. But if you come support me on my YouTube channel, my book, and Patreon, they're the 3 that I really would appreciate at the moment, because I'm trying to build those ones.
I will put links to your YouTube and Patreon. Brandon asked, how connected is Richard Branson to Epstein? He seems to have disappeared from the media. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Richard Branson, I think he was incredibly connected. He's got his Necker Island, which was used for a few of these World Economic Forum type conferences. Necker Island is not that far from Epstein's Island at all, and St. Bart's. They all holiday down there. Now, I think he's obviously into submarines. I think Ghislaine Maxwell's Terramar thing was to do with actually there's stuff going on underwater. There's a possibility of that there as well. So he's in with submarines and stuff going there. He's a cult to his core, absolutely. Now, I don't know if he's in with done anything illegal. Can't say that at all. But when he was younger, he was caught. He was brought up in a fairly wealthy family, by the way. But he was caught trafficking, I suppose it's not the right word, black market records across the border. And he was caught with doing this when his early days of his record stores before Virgin. Now, they, instead of getting a long prison sentence and even a criminal record, they let him off because obviously who his family were, he got a slap on the wrist, no criminal record, so he could go on and make companies. Remember, this is the 70s, so a slightly different world. And he, I believe, was owned from that point onwards with Virgin Records. All of this stuff, he's been owned from that day forward because they said, look, okay, you've done something wrong here, we've got you. Now you come work for us and we won't give you a criminal record. You'll be able to set up your companies and we'll support you for all of this. And I think it's quite evident that he's completely involved with all of these guys in whatever way, but absolutely. And his island is something that we should be looking at as well. That's not that far from Epstein Island. And I think underwater, the Terramar project was a cover for them using submarines and looking into submarine technology. Definitely, a lot is going to come out around those things. Yeah, so I think he's heavily involved, but to what degree, I don't know. But he's definitely an occultist, in my opinion.
They're all down there. They all have islands. Epstein, Biden,
Yes.
Branson, Nygaard, the Copperfield. It's incredible. Lizzie asks, is entrepreneur Brian Johnson the don't die guy who wants to stay alive till he's 140 or whatever? Is he part of the transhumanist cult? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think
This is the guy who's
is that the Netflixing? I've not seen that guy.
Yeah. He's the guy who looks like he's always like he's trying to like biohack himself to live forever or something.
Yes, I know who you mean. Let me just check it. Now, I think he's got Brian Johnson, Don't Die. Yeah, I think he's the guy. He does the Netflix thing, doesn't he? He's got a Netflix show out or something, a Netflix film out. I'm not sure. I've not seen his thing. What I can say is I don't know about him specifically, but the narrative that he's pushing absolutely is part of it. Now, he doesn't need to know anything about any of this stuff to be pushing that narrative without even knowing it. And I think that's something we can connect back to the true crime stuff. These guys don't necessarily have to have a clue about what they're playing into. I mean, I would be naive to think that me putting out some of this information doesn't play into the hands of what they want sometimes. I mean, I'm sure it does. You can do your best to try and navigate that, but if you're fully self-aware, you have to realize that, everything comes with a negative and a positive, a polarity. Everything has, so they can use information in either way. So I think he's, pushing the agenda, whether he knows it or not. Well, I know he is because we know what the outcome is. Absolutely, I believe he is.
Right, I think
he takes his son's blood daily, I believe. Well, if he takes his son's blood, then he's obviously not right. But yes, I have seen this guy. Yeah, he knows what agenda he's pushing, that guy. But how much he knows and where it fits into this overall agenda I talk about in the book, I would be surprised if they know that much. I think that's like, and I'm not saying I've got everything right. I'm not saying this is kind of like a doorway into going to look into your own stuff and your own investigations, but there's enough here to go. There's something going on here and it has something to do with this messianic agenda. Perhaps he's been promised a place in the next arc in the cube of Enoch or this new Zion city. Who knows? But it's not normal, is it? Using your son's blood.
It's not. It's all so strange. These people want to be immortal and then kill the rest of us off. Like it's really like Georgia Guidestones type stuff. It feels like the end of the world, and all this information you've related through your talking book really opens up people's eyes. So people go get this book. Check out. I will put links to Richard Willett's YouTube, Twitter, and his Patreon. So check that out. Anything else you'd like to add or anything I missed before we wrap it up?
No, just say thank you for everyone to listen to me rabble on about this weird stuff. No one else will listen to me, William, around here. You just talk to this stuff and you find yourself. Actually, I think I would like something is that this stuff, take it with the. Remember, these people are mad. Don't let it drive you mad, and also don't let it turn you into something that you're not. Like, yes, they're mad, and yes, they're doing weird stuff, but they are a very, very small percentage of the planet, and it doesn't take much for the world to wake up. They're terrified of people understanding this stuff. Don't turn into what they want you to turn into. it's actually quite a funny and enjoyable, beautiful world. This is a very small gaggle of lunatics that won't last much longer. They're running out of time in their own fantasy narrative. So just don't let it turn you or I into people that we don't like, because there's so many this world is a beautiful, beautiful place. We've got our families here, our children here. This is a cult that needs to be exposed for what it is. And on the back end of that, we can have a different world as to, I don't know what that would look like. I have no idea. But don't let it, get you down, because it's quite funny. These people are mental. It's just that we've normalized insanity. And that's quite easy to undo once people are willing to go, that king over there's got no clothes on and he's got his bollocks and nuts out. I can see them. We just got to call it out for what it is. Just have some humor to it, because it's, don't let it ruin your day, because these people will love that.
They want to ruin it. They're a death cult, just like you say in your title. And again, the guest and podcaster and author is Richard A. Willett, Willett. And the title of his new book is I Am Immortal, A Death Cult's Quest for Immortality. Thanks so much for your time, Richard. Appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Always.
All right, stay there.